So, my name is David. This is also David. We'll get to that in a moment. One of the pastors here on staff. This David is the naked pastor, clothed in all his glory. Here is how this morning is going to work. In just a moment, I'm going to begin asking the other David some questions. And I found out on Friday we had dinner together with the lovely ICU Talks team. And, I asked other David, how would you like Sunday morning to go? And you told me, I heard from a reliable source that you, David, me, David, confusing, I know, I'm a fan of winging it. And I am. And he said that's his speed too. So we're going to kind of wing it, ask some questions, but crucially, and this is where all of you come in, you can go ahead and throw up the name and number slide right now. Ignore the bottom part for now. We're going to get to that in a little bit, although it sort of explains itself. But the part that has my name and then my phone number, that's my real phone number, not one of those weird Google things. You can text in your questions. And so maybe about 10, 15 minutes into our conversation, assuming I feel my phone blowing up, I'll pull that out and we'll transition from my questions to yours. And then at the end, and we'll talk about this, David will be available to sign, and you can purchase some of his work in the back and things like that. So, makes sense? I think I was very clear. Good job, me. All right. So, David, to kick things off, just because I know some of you were here last night, you got to hear David talk about himself, but kind of just to kick us off, who is David Hayward to David Hayward?
Hi, everybody. Not very many people know who David Hayward is, but more people know who Naked Pastor is. So that's what I do. I'm Naked Pastor. I'm a cartoonist, artist, etc. But I just want to say thank you so much for having me here, and I'm really enjoying myself. You guys are so sweet. You're beautiful people, and I just texted my wife earlier. The people here are so sweet. So you really are, and this feels like a beautiful place. Feels safe here, loving, compassionate, caring, and fun. You know, that's a really cool combination. So thanks so much for having me. I just want to say, though, I really struggled with what to wear this morning. I was going to wear a dress shirt, but I really wanted to wear this shirt. I just brought this shirt because it's just a cotton tee that I could just wear around my room. But I felt I really wanted to wear it to church this morning, but my head was going, you don't wear a t-shirt to church. It's still old school. So I wore this shirt, and on it there's a sparrow, and then there's a Latin saying on it, and it's the motto for my province, New Brunswick, where I live in Canada. And it says, Spem Reduxit. Does anybody know what that means? Nobody? Hope restored. Wow. So it's right in line with what Matt was talking about. So I think that's kind of cool, don't you?
I think it's very cool. Yeah.
So David Hayward. I've been a blogger. I've been in the ministry. I was blogging for a while. I started cartooning, and then cartoons started taking off, and they got me in trouble. And eventually, I left the ministry and decided to put all my effort into Naked Pastor and everything that I was doing, and it worked. And here I am today.
Awesome.
That's a flyover version.
No, it's perfect. And all of you can be confident that all of his just compliments of us or being kind and nice are legit, because he's Canadian, and that's what they're known for. So if he recognizes that in us, then, we can feel confident as well. And just by the way, just you mentioned this last night, just kind of PSA. If you want to find him via a search engine, make Naked Pastor one word.
Yeah. One word. Because
Yeah.
if you Google Naked Pastor, you're going to see
Something
Naked
different.
Pastors.
Yeah.
And they really do exist.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's start that. Let's start there. Oh God. Let's let's start there, because you mentioned last night at ICU Talks sort of the genesis of your name, way back when, 18 years ago, that was the math piece
18,
that you were
Wow.
unsure about. Way back when, there was like Naked Chef and all these other naked people going on at the time. But really what you were getting as is a sort of a rawness, or the word that you really landed on last night was authenticity. And you tied like a really close, you created a bond kind of in your words last night between just authenticity and belonging, and authenticity and freedom. Authenticity was sort of like your link word, your central word. So can you talk to us just a little bit about the relationship between art and creativity and authenticity, and just how that has informed or evolved for you, for as long as you've been the Naked Pastor?
Yeah, authenticity is a big deal for me. I think ever since I can remember, I just wanted to be me, and I just wanted to be loved. And we all learn pretty early that we might have to make a choice which one we prefer. And I learned that very early in my house, that I had a choice to be authentic or loved. The problem is that if you choose to be loved and hide yourself, then you know the whole time that it's not really the you that's being loved, right? And you want to be authentic, you want to be yourself, but you want to be loved as yourself. And we all know that's the problem, right? That's the problem that we're wrestling with. And I wrestled with that my whole life, in my family's home, and in school, and in the ministry, and still online, where there's this tension between me wanting to be real and authentic, honest, transparent, vulnerable, all of the things Naked stands for. But at the same time, I want to be accepted. And that's, often doesn't happen. But here we are, together in this place. And what I've discovered is, if you dare to be your most authentic self and express yourself as yourself, and I do that through my art and all that kind of thing, my creativity, you're found. People find you. And you find people. And so, like right now, right here, I feel very loved and supported and accepted, and I can be me at the same time. And that's just magic. So, yeah.
So we have some samples of David's art, some of the cartoons, some of the paintings he's done. I'm going to let you kind of riff on a couple of them, and then we'll shift over to some of y'all's questions, because let's start, Oliver. Let's start with there should be one where it looks like Jesus has a lot of people with pencils, and Jesus is doing something with a pencil. There it is. Just tell us a little bit about this one. I remember you mentioning this was a kind of an early breakout one for you.
Yeah. So there's a verse, I think it's in Ephesians, where it says, "There's therefore now no dividing wall between us." The dividing wall's been torn down. And I just drew it, what I saw. This is how it happens to me. An image will pop into my head, and I have to draw it. And sometimes it makes it online, sometimes it doesn't. But this one did. And I called it Eraser. It's simply people standing around drawing lines of separation between them. And Jesus has his upside down, and he's erasing the lines. So I think that's a pretty cool image. But it's amazing how, it's a cute drawing, it's sweet, it's positive. But there's people out there that really do believe that there should be lines of separation. And they work hard at establishing those. And so I just want to throw that idea of Jesus into that kind of mentality, that the Jesus that the gospel speaks of and Paul speaks of and so on is one who tore down walls and barriers of separation. And so I drew that one, I think, back in 2014 maybe, and it took off, and it's one of my most popular ones. It's called Eraser.
I'm not going to have you talk about them just because I actually want to ask you about one of your paintings. But Oliver, feel free to cycle through some of the other cartoons we have. There's one with Jesus making a puzzle with some sheep. There's this one, kind of Matrix. Yeah. So kind of like Matrix Jesus, but with coins instead of bullets. This one is beautiful, very timely, I think.
Yeah.
And there's a sense in which, you talked about, you woke up one day, or forgive me if I'm messing with the story a little bit, but you made a plan to just kind of do one cartoon a day.
Right.
And you thought it would peter out
Yeah.
a couple of weeks, and it's been 18 years.
Yeah.
There's a discipline to that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think sometimes people think when they're thinking artistically or creatively that, either you got it or you don't, and the people who got it, it happens spontaneously and magically. And yes, I'm sure that there's an element of that, but can you talk to me about the discipline of creativity, which in turn probably relates to like authenticity as a discipline as well?
So, yeah, for me, I do draw every day, and now I'm at a place now in my career where I don't have to go to work. Like I work from home, and my art supports me, and so that's a wonderful privilege for me. And so, but at the same time, even though that sounds sweet, there's a lot of hard work. So I just put myself in my studio with my materials and wait for stuff to happen. So it's not like I'm floating around the house and then I paint a painting, and all. It's like I have to sit my ass down and work. And so it's like there's a whole lot of sayings around that where luck comes to those who are waiting or preparing for it. There's all kinds of such sayings. And it's the same with creativity. I believe everybody's creative. I believe everybody's an artist of some kind. I'm reading a book right now by Rick Rubin called The Creative Act. Amazing book, powerful book. And I agree with them. Everybody's creative in some way. And so the thing is, you kind of have to sit down or do whatever posture and, position yourself for the creativity to flow through you in some way. And, so it is hard work, but it's fun. So.
And just that emphasis on discipline. I mean, you heard Matt talk a moment ago about the upcoming series, about hope, and that idea of tying these kind of more abstract or aspirational ideas, be it hope or, creativity, any of these things. I think sometimes we want them to be magical, like they just kind of come down to us divinely from heaven and they just kind of work out. And certainly there are moments, there's events, there's these powerful, kind of moments of rapture where that happens. But I think more often than not, it's doesn't mean it's not fun, but there is that, there's the work, there's the days where it's not easy, and you have to, kind of go through the motions, kind of fake it till you make it, and kind of just wanted to emphasize that.
Well, it's so like say this cartoon it's called Puzzle of Love. I have to sit there and just sort of stare into space and wait. Like I'm thinking, my mind's going, but it's like I have to be ready for an image to pop into my head. It's not like I'm thinking, I can't explain it, but you have to posture yourself in such a way that the inspiration can come, right? So if you need silence or you need space or you need to declutter or you need to be in the woods or you need, to position yourself, or if some of my greatest inspiration comes when I'm driving in the car, but I can't have the radio on. I can't be listening to music. It has to be silent. I listen to music all day long. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I put on music, and the last thing I do when I go to bed. I have music playing all day long. But there's periods in the day when I have to shut things off and just, be waiting for inspiration to come, for an image to pop into my head. Caitlin, are you in charge of the internet right now? Here, not in the world. I mean, could you look on NakedPastor.com for an image called Lost Lamb, trans? Just Google those or search those words, and I'd like to show that cartoon at some point. So?
I don't.
Oh.
Oh, hey, Desmond. Oh, okay.
What's that?
The internet's down.
The internet's down. No problem.
All right, so y'all, y'all can.
Yeah, I can talk about it.
Yeah.
What's really cool, though, about my cartoons is often their community, the community gets involved. So I drew a cartoon a few years ago of Jesus carrying a white sheep on his shoulders, and he's walking past a flock of white sheep, and the white sheep, a leader of the white sheep, says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, he wasn't lost. We kicked him out." And I love that cartoon, because that was my experience. I've been kicked out. And so somebody at some point said, "Oh, I love that cartoon. Can you make the sheep that Jesus is carrying rainbow?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I drew it, and then that cartoon became popular. And then somebody said, "Oh, can you do a cartoon with that one, but with the sheep that Jesus is carrying trans colors?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll do that." And then somebody says, "Oh, can you do that cartoon with the trans, but they're saying he wasn't lost. We kicked him out." And then Jesus says, "I know, but I found them." I'm like, "Sure, I'll do that." So I don't know how many iterations of that cartoon there are now, but it's like up to 14 or 15 different iterations. People just love that cartoon. And I've had so many people giving me feedback and giving me suggestions. Even last week, somebody said, "Would you please draw one with the NB colors, non-binary?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do that. What pronouns do you want?" They said he and them. So I don't know. It just goes on and on and on. So it's a lot of fun.
All right. Last thing, and then we're going to transition to your questions. There was a painting, Oliver. It's kind of an orangish hued painting. It's the one with the dog. Yes. So feel free to share the story of this painting or not. What struck me, though, thematically, when you sort of unpack this, is just the authenticity of this one was an authenticity of lament.
Of the what?
Of lament.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an element of joy in that. I feel like you probably do need to give the context for this painting, but
yeah.
Just captured it beautifully. And you talked about sometimes how images can say more than words. Pictures worth 1,000 words. So just give some context for this one. I think it's beautiful,
sure.
and then we'll get to your questions.
So you just want me to cry again? I cried last night. I started doing watercolor. I just love watercolor. I love paper and the way the paint works on the paper. And, when I was a little kid in school, when we had the fat pencils way back in the day, our teacher would make us line up every morning and sharpen our fat pencils. But I didn't want mine sharpened. I'd like mine dull so that I could get that nice shady edges on my letters and everything. I was already thinking like an artist as a little kid. And the teacher, she didn't like me very much, but she wrapped my knuckles with a triangular ruler, because I wouldn't sharpen my pencil. But, and when I started doing watercolors, I had this very dreamy, kind of moody style. And my teachers were like, "That's not how you do watercolor." Even my dad was like, "That's not how that's done. That's not how it's done." But I just had this, I just needed to paint this way, right? And now people want my paintings. I love them, of course. They're like my children. But so this one here is a case in point where the story behind this one, the title is No Goodbye is Good Enough. And I called it that because my daughter's boyfriend, thank you. Last night I said my girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. I meant my daughter's boyfriend. He had a dog named Bowser. That's his real name. And he was like 14. He was a bigger dog. And he'd gotten sick, cancer. And it was decided he needed to be put down because he was just suffering so much. And so we'd known Bowser for like 4 or 5 years. And so we invited them all over the night before his appointment. And we fed him hamburgers and Timbits. What are Timbits here? What do you call them here? Donut holes or something?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how you sell a donut hole because a hole is nothing. Anyway, and then we took him swimming because he loves swimming, and then we said goodbye, and then he's gone, and so darn it. Anyway, the next day, I painted this painting, and it just popped into my head. I just pictured a man or a person on the shore of a frozen lake or whatever, saying goodbye to his dog. So that just happened last week, so it's still fresh. And
I didn't know that.
yeah.
I didn't know that detail. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
Okay,
don't be
well,
sorry.
awkward transition to questions. This is a good one. So, so there's my number. Yeah, so you can continue to text them. Some of you already had my number. Turns out I gave it away like candy. All right, so talk about the times that your soul is feeling kind of more provocative, like you want to poke the bear. So something about the artistic, the authentic or artistic spirit when it comes to letting your inner prophet out. How do you navigate, feelings like anger, selfishness, bitterness, things like that artistically?
Yep. I never call myself a prophet. Some people like to call me that, but I don't claim that at all. I just speak my truth. Sometimes I try to speak truth to power, and that's not always appreciated. Because we know what happens to prophets, right? Especially in their hometown. So it's risky business. But I don't intend to poke the bear. I just intend to speak what I think is true. If it happens to poke the bear, then if the shoe fits. And so I never come out saying I want to upset people or anger people or anything. I just want to speak truth. So I draw pictures about, spiritual abuse or religious trauma or purity culture or racism or misogyny or transphobia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just going to draw it and see where it lands. And all of my cartoons get mixed reactions. And, I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of comments. And I spend a lot of time moderating online, deleting hateful comments, blocking people if they persist, and so on. So it's, for me, I don't consider myself brave or, obnoxious or rebellious or anything. I'm just speaking my truth, and other people interpret it as, whatever. But for me, I'm just a normal guy. I'm a pretty nice guy. I'm calm, I'm gentle, I'm kind, and I don't want to cause problems. I'm a peacemaker, but I'm going to speak my truth.
One of the youth in the back, they want you to know that your beard is angelic.
Thank you. You know, it's funny. It's different down here. I was getting a coffee at a Starbucks in, I forget where I was, somewhere in the States, wherever I was. And the lady at the cash said, "I love your beard." She goes, she said, "It's fly." And I said, "Well, thank you." And then I got it again this morning coming out of the hotel. So I never get that in Canada, but it's kind of cool. Thank you.
Interesting.
Whoever said angelic, I never got that one before.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Welcome to Watershed. So I'm going to kind of pair two questions together in the interest of time, both about that choice or that dichotomy between love and authenticity. So the first is, do you feel as if you, at some point, you made that choice, or, and if so, like what was the decision tree there? How did you prioritize that? And then sort of in tandem with that, someone's asking about, what if you feel both the opportunity to be authentic and loved, but then there are forces, the world, the government, whoever, who are trying to steal that from you or take that from you, what does it look like to navigate that? So wherever you want to go with any of that.
So, authenticity, it is a big thing for me. My desire is I want to be free to be me. And I insist on that. That's a non-negotiable now for me. But I remember that from way back when I was a kid, like the example of me not wanting to sharpen my pencil. This is how I like my pencil. This is how I like doing watercolors. This is how I like to paint. This is how I like to draw cartoons. This is how I want to do ministry. This is how I want to be a spiritual person. Or this is how I want to be whatever gender or whatever, orientation or whatever. This is how I want to be. And I really do believe that just being born gives me that right. Just being born gives me that right. I pop into this world. I don't know if I popped or not, but I came into this world, and right then and there, I have the right to be who I am. And so all through, in my home, I grew up in a very regimented home. My dad was a cop, and he was a cop at home as well. And, and then going to Bible college, of course, that was very authoritarian. And then seminary, and then the ministry, and et cetera, et cetera. And constantly my struggle was figuring out how to be me in each and every context, to be my authentic self. And finding love where I could, and acceptance where I could. And so for me, I have a wonderful wife, wonderful kids, and I've got some friends, and some of them are online. Like I met Kim and Larissa, and we had an interview for her podcast, and we've talked. I consider them friends, and I'm considering you friends. And this is the kind of thing that authenticity does. If I continued living my life just pleasing people and placating people just to survive, that's just depressing. And not only do I suffer for not being able to express myself, you suffer by not getting me. And that's just the truth. Yeah.
So I'm gonna pair a few more together. I know this always happens. I underestimate how inquisitive all of you are. But unfortunately, I won't be able to personally follow up and answer all of these questions because I'm the wrong David. So I'm doing my best to sort of synthesize some of them together. So if you don't hear your exact wording, doesn't mean I didn't see you. I'm trying to be efficient here. So a couple questions relating to, I don't know, the calling towards ministry, maybe that you felt at some point, but then also the impetus for shifting to a ministerial or an approach to work. Because you're not formally in ministry anymore, but you are still doing ministry, artistically and through your work, what you're doing here right now. So can you just kind of, what did that look like? So what got you into ministry in the first place? And then was there a moment or an impetus, something specific, that caused you to kind of take this hard turn towards being more inclusive, or was that gradual over time? What did that look like?
Okay. I grew up in the church, youth group, went to Bible college. I originally started as a music major, switched to theology when I met Lisa because she wanted to be a missionary. This is what love can do. She wanted to be a missionary, and I was in music. And she was like, I don't know how this is going to work because I want to go in the mission field, and you're going to be a music pastor somewhere. So I switched majors just like that. And switched just to theology, and got married after I graduated, and we're going to be celebrating our 43rd wedding anniversary on May 4th. And we're madly in love. And I got distracted by love again. So for me, I kind of ended up in the ministry. It's a long story, but it was kind of like by accident I ended up in the ministry. But I went to a pastor's conference once, and the speaker said a pastor's job is to help people get from point A to point B. That's your job, to help them get from point A. And it's like that's what I love doing. I love helping people move from their point A to their point B. Not my point A and my point B. Your point A and your point B. I'll help you get there, right? And I just fell in love with that idea. And when I started realizing that people in the church wanted me to, I actually had people sit down in front of me and say, I pay you to tell me what to believe. And with their tithes and offerings and stuff. And I don't want to play that game. I want to help you get from your point A to your point B. That, to me, is what it's about. And so when I left the ministry, I'm still doing that. I'm still helping people get from their point A to their point B. I don't have a collar. I don't have papers. I don't belong to a denomination or any church anywhere. But I'm still doing it. I read an article recently in the New Yorker of a man from, I think he's in Arizona, that decided he wanted to learn bonsai. So he went to Japan, finally got accepted by a Grand Master bonsai. You know what bonsai is? The Japanese miniature trees that take years and years and years and years and years of pruning and care to get. So he goes to Japan to learn under this master. But the thing about this master, this bonsai master, is he breaks all the rules. Like he'll go and find a tree, and he'll take saws at it. He'll sandblast it. He'll bend them by force, and and maybe in a few months he'll have a bonsai instead of years, right? And he's considered, like he's an iconoclast. He's breaking all the rules, but his bonsai trees sell for millions. And I kind of feel like that guy, where I'm breaking all the rules, and yet I'm getting stuff done. And so I just want to encourage you to do the same thing. Like you can get stuff done and not follow the programmed, normal, traditional methods, right? I mean, you can be what you want to be. Go if you want to go get a degree and experience and mentoring and all that. Yeah, go for it. I did, but it's like a lot of the experts say: learn the rules so that you can break them, right? So that's what I did, and that's why I do it.
I was literally talking about that with someone last night. It's basically my life's motto, so I feel affirmed. Okay, so we have time for about 2 more. Here's the thing. It's actually, I'm combining like 6 questions, so really it's 6 more, so congrats. Lucky y'all. But real quick, remind us the Bowser painting, the name, someone was asking about it. They're looking for it. They want to
They want it?
I think so. Or they want to find it, learn more about it.
The original sold like as soon as I posted it, it was sold. So I've made prints, so they're available. But if you use that coupon, Charlotte, you get 25% off all the prints and everything. You know what's funny? This is ironic. Excuse me.
You're good.
The on the table back there is my book, Flip It Like This, and then one of the prints is overturning, where Jesus is overturning the tables. And I've had people say, "Oh, isn't that ironic where you're selling a picture of Jesus flipping tables with money on it?" So it is kind of ironic, but I claim that Jesus wasn't upset about money being in the temple. He was upset about the exploitation of the poor. That's what it was about. So.
What was the name of the painting, the Bowser one?
Oh, sorry. No goodbye is good enough.
All right, so last two synthesized questions. So the first is, you have a character, Sophia.
Yes.
Can you just talk a little bit about the genesis, the style of the Sophia work is sometimes a little different and things like that. So any insight you can give us? Oliver, yeah.
So this one's called Suspended. So after I left the ministry, like I'd been painting the pretty watercolor paintings, right? So one Sunday afternoon, I was no longer in the ministry. Lisa and I were not doing well. We were traumatized. I just started drawing one afternoon, and when I was done, it was the fearless one with the bear. That. I had no idea why I drew it. I just sat down with a pen and pencil and drew this little girl holding up a teddy bear to a bear. I don't even really know what it means, except she's fearless, right? And then my wife Lisa's a nurse, so she was working shift work. So every weekend when she was working nights, I would just sit down, crack open a bottle of wine or something, crank up the music, and start drawing. And I never planned it, ever. I just started drawing. Whatever would come out, came out. And after 2 years, I had 59 drawings of Sophia. But I was about 8 in when this one, the cave, I realized, I started crying. Because I realized, oh my goodness, I'm drawing my story. This is me. Because I was standing before the cave. Should I go in or should I not? It was like a metaphor for self-discovery, getting in touch with yourself, going into the cave, right? And like a vision quest. And I realized I was drawing my story of liberation. So I compiled all the Sophia drawings into a book called The Liberation of Sophia, and each one has a meditation. And basically, Sophia is Greek for wisdom, and it was a woman because I'm part woman. I'm part female. I told that to one of my friends once. I said, yeah, some of your DNA is female, whatever. And I don't mean to be binary. I'm just saying, if you know Carl Jung at all, you've got the man has the animus and the woman has the anima, right? So is animus. I've got that backwards, yeah. So I really feel I was drawing my own soul's journey, my inner wisdom towards freedom. This one is one of the last ones called Angel, where she realizes she's just beautiful and can hardly handle it, right? She's kind of ashamed of being so beautiful and embarrassed, rather. And so a lot of people love that story of Sophia, especially women who are trying to liberate themselves from terrible situations, either in a relationship or families or jobs or churches or whatever, and ideologies as well. So yes, liberation of Sophia. It's my story. It's a very precious, one of my most precious episodes in my art world. Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap up with this. Afterwards, David will be in the back. There's not going to be a closing song, so I'm going to try to figure out a way to make this profound, or he will. I'll pawn that off on him. But he'll be in the back and would be happy. He has some of his books, some prints available. And then, of course, you see there's this code, NakedPastor.com, all one word. And that code, Charlotte, can be used for 25%
It might be all caps, but it might not be all caps. So I wrote the code Charlotte in all caps, but if Charlotte like that doesn't work, try all caps.
There you go.
Yeah.
But to kind of close, so a couple people have asked about confidence and courage, and the sort of authenticity or freedom that you're talking about seems to take a level of courage. And, you've developed a kind of confidence over the years. Is there, can you pinpoint the wellspring of that? Is it, is there any one thing, an inspiration? Is it more of a process or a discipline? What does the courage or the confidence to be your authentic self in spite of a world that maybe would reject that? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I don't consider myself, like I said, a brave or courageous or a strong person. Somebody once said, courage is fear getting back in the saddle. Have you heard that before? Courage is fear getting back in the saddle. Just because somebody does something courageous, it doesn't mean they're not afraid, right? If somebody like a war hero is running into the bullets to save a comrade, it doesn't mean he's not afraid. He's just doing the job. He's getting the job done. And I feel like that a lot. Like, there are days when I'm like exhausted. I've been beaten up online, and I'm like, I want to post another LGBTQ cartoon, and I know it's going to bring more hate. It's like, send. I'm afraid. I'm nervous. But pushing that send button or post button or whatever, people say that's courageous. It doesn't feel like that to me. It feels like I just have to do this. Boom. And other people say that was courageous. Whereas for me, it was just a must, a necessity. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah, okay.
Well, David, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to be real careful boundary-wise here with you. There were some people last night who I know, like, they'd mentioned to me, like, oh, yeah, I've corresponded with him before and stuff like that. Is that okay? Can people reach out? Like, some of the questions didn't get answered and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm really good at responding to emails and messages and, everything. So, yeah, reach out.
Yeah. So if you didn't get your question answered, you've heard it here from the man himself. You can send them to him directly. Instagram, DM, email, things like that. So would you all give David Hayward just a warm thank you? So here's what we're going to do. David's going to be in the back. Those of you who have produced offspring or brought some of someone else's, you should get them first and then come back, just so we can honor our volunteers over there. But thank you so much, David. Thank you so much to all of you. And we'll see some of you in a moment in the back, and the rest of you we will see next week, because Matt made you make a commitment that you're going to be here for a month straight. So we'll see you next week. Thank you.